Shevka, some of the members of the court or committee don't know you. They should.
Thank you very much. John Rogers with Grafton Toll on Airport Road, and I'm here with Owen Carpenter with Terracon in Bryant. And thank you for letting us. Thank you. Bring this work to you and for presentation. So this solid waste disposal rate study is what we call it. A rate study it's a planning analysis more than anything, and it's useful in looking at our operations, looking at the exorbitant cost of developing and running the landfill, operating the landfill. It can point out efficiencies and deficiencies. We can use it for many things, such as our fleet management and replacement. But its primary purpose, I think there's 14 pages of the condensed version before you. Primary purpose is to make sure that our jurisdictional body, our Garland County, is fair, equitable in our rates to our users and the people we provide the service to. So that's the impact of this presentation, is that our rate is fair and equitable. And so this is a rate study to achieve that. And at the end, spoiler alert, is we recommend an adjustment to the rate, a periodic adjustment. That's in this document, and I think the judge is going to say more about that. So that's all I have. Who has the details?
Yeah.
Share the mic.
I don't know how detailed I'm going to get. I'll try to keep this pretty short. I'm Owen Carpenter with Terracon, which our office is in Bryant. I'm a Garland County resident out close to Garvin Gardens. It's good to be here. I enjoy this area. And we have worked with and supported Grafton Toll quite a bit on other projects, other facilities. And I did work for BNF Engineering long ago for many years. So I've known John for a long time, and a lot of the other folks over there, although they continue to change too. Our office, and Terracon's a pretty large company nationwide, but our office happens to be a solid waste focused group. So that's a reason that we are involved to support Grafton Toll. And John and I enjoy working together quite a bit too. So the county and judge asked us to do this study. This rate study pertains to the Class 4 landfill, and we're trying to. I'm not going to make a speculation on what the county might want to do with this information. I was involved with assembling the information, which is an excellent tool, but it gives us a way to demonstrate what an approximate budget year's cost per ton is to operate this county landfill. So we'll tell you a little bit about it, and then if it's appropriate, Judge, we can take questions. So Terracon has done this for other facilities. We've done similar evaluations between John. Oh, where'd you go, John? Okay. I'm looking for him. So between us, we know a lot about this landfill too. I actually worked for BNF when we did the permitting back then. So John and I worked together from the beginning of this landfill. So we know a good bit about that infrastructure and the future planning with Judge Mahoney here. So this information packet that you received, it has many of the data that are presented in the spreadsheet. The county has the spreadsheet. I know Billy has the spreadsheet as well. And so our goal was to provide the county a planning tool they can look at and assess and reassess the contributing factors to what should constitute the rate at the landfill. That could be done on an annual basis whenever the county desires to. So we also expect with input from county folks to tweak this information as we gather more information. We find out more about how the county operates, and of course all a landfill is extremely dynamic, so things are changing all the time. So if we do this for 2025, it's going to be different. But this current version that you're looking at in the spreadsheet that the county has, that's the best information that we've accumulated for. And I know Judge, it was important to him to make sure that we evaluate full liability is for the county uh, all the way to the end of the life of the landfill, because there's a lot of facilities, they've just been going along, and then they get to the end, they've got $3 million worth of closure costs that they're going to incur, and they have to be planned on that. So you're out of tonnage to charge people for, and you still have a huge liability. So that causes problems. So that's we want to have our fund accounted for as much as we can in the present tense for the life of the landfill. So this may, if you know much about landfills or a little bit about landfills, you'll understand why these things are important. But there's some of the factors that are included in this spreadsheet include remaining airspace, how much more volume of waste airspace do we have in the corresponding tonnage, because if you bring a set amount of tons across the scale and charge people for it, put it in the landfill, then there's a corresponding how much space do we use. And then there's future cell development cost. Each cell construction is a pretty big deal, with bids going out to contractors that are capable. You've got the future capping and associated closure cost, even beyond the capping. You got operating cost, infrastructure cost, equipment cost. The environmental committee, you guys know, you've got stormwater handling features and costs that are involved, annual engineering cost, and there's current projected tonnage going to the landfill, assumed inflation rates, timing, construction, and future events, applying those inflation factors well into the future, uh, borrow rates for money, purchase off-site souls, all of that kind of thing. We tried to account for in this spreadsheet. It is a document that's, you've heard people term it a living document. It's a living document for the county to use as a planning tool, tweak as they go, and you'll see by that handout. It's also a great resource because there's a whole lot of information in there for kind of where we are with the landfill. So with that, if it's appropriate for questions, I'll certainly try. I don't, if you get into the spreadsheet, it's a lot. And I don't know if you guys want to get into those kind of weeds, but I'd be glad to try to answer any questions that you have, or John, if I can answer it.
So you've got the packet that Owen John brought to you. You've also got a couple other items that I gave to you. Basically, what we charge now, and in looking back today, it looks like as far back as 2002, that rate has remained constant on the gate. It's always been a $10 $24 per ton. So that's over 20 years of consistent fees at the gate. If you look into that packet there, the rate study, you'll see that it is suggested that we should be charging about $49 a ton. Now, that's not to say that we should jump up and do that right now, but you've got comparative, I gave you comparative numbers from other counties in the state of Arkansas running landfills. I believe the one that's closest to us is Clark County. It's 27, and Owen and John will confirm they have a rate study going on right now as well. So we are well behind what we should be charging to cover our growth in the landfill and our continued best use of the airspace and the closure of the landfill when that happens. I summoned them to do this because in the last 2 years, our airspace has decreased dramatically. In 23 and this year, we've had record years of waste being brought to the landfill. And so our airspace has decreased dramatically, and we've seen some waste coming from other counties to use our landfill. So we want to try to get away from that. And there's a couple of things that I think that we should probably look at, but I want everybody to be comfortable with that report there. It's very in depth and it has a lot of good information in it. But I think that we're going to, in the end, I would like to see this committee push forward to the finance committee, maybe a $5 increase on the minimum, and then a $5 increase on the per ton. And then we review that per ton every year before we increase it. I think that the $5 increase on the low limit is good. We leave it alone. We look at $5 increase this year on that. It'll get us up to $29. At the end of the year, next year, we review it again to see if it needs to be added on to, or if that will carry us on to where we need to be. And I'd be glad to listen to any other options you've got. I just know we're well behind where we should be. And as I told you coming in, as far back as I can find, an ordinance from 02 set that rate, $10 minimum and $24 per ton. So it hasn't been changed since then. Now the house has, because of the bid process and our big dumpsters, our roll-off dumpsters, the price has been changed on that. But as far as our class 4 operations of the landfill itself, it has not been increased. Of course, everything's increased to us. So if you would give some consideration to doing that 5 on the low end, it would make it $15 for a minimum. That's so if somebody comes in with a pickup with trash in the back of it, debris in the back of it, they're not having to pay a full ton price. We add 5 to the tonnage price. That brings us to 29, and we set it up for review each year before we just add anything else to it. We review it, make sure that we've got a handle on it. We know what we're doing with it, and that we're still on track. Because if we ask for another rate study next year, it could reveal something else. We're in the middle of a phase right now. We just started phase 3, and we're working towards opening a cell there. And it's a project to get a cell open. There's a lot of DEQ requirements. This year was our first year to have to install piezometers to measure the groundwater around our cell that we're trying to open. So we're probably, hopefully, we're 8 months away from having another cell open, and Billy's doing all he can to try to save enough airspace to get to that point. It is filling up fast. We've had 2 record years here. But one other thing I'd like to see us do is go to the full rate, the full suggested rate of $49 to any project from out of this county. This is the Garland County landfill, and it's subsidized by some sales tax here. And so when other counties start using you, it takes away from our patrons. So I would like to at least go to the full rate on them if they're from out of county. If they don't have a project here. I'm not saying that a contractor here working on something, we have to do that. But if they're from out of the county, if they're bringing debris from out of the county, they should pay the full amount that's suggested we go to. I think in our permit, it even talks about out of county refuse. But this is all class 4. It has nothing to do with the class 1. We'll talk about it in a minute, but this is all the stuff that goes to Billy that we bury and that we're responsible for till past death do us part. So this is a big deal, and a landfill is a big operation. I know most of you have been up there, and you know what kind of operation Billy runs. And we've opened, since I've been in office, we've opened 2 cells, and they're both full, and we're going back across the top right now. So there's a big demand for it, and you can go out there anytime, and there's a line of vehicles trying to get in there. The people use it, and I believe that it's a fair rate to just ask 15 for that minimum. I think that'll cover you up to like 800 pounds of stuff. and then moves the rate to 29 for in-county patrons and the full 49 for out of it. Just make it that each year before we get to the end of the year, we'll have a study to where we can look at it and see if things have changed. Because we did bid the phase 3 out. We had bids all over the place. Garrett Excavating was actually the one that did that, but it was about $1 million to do that job, the clearing and grubbing and preparing the phase. Now we still have to go back and design and build a cell on there to put the trash in, to start putting the trash in. And there's a lot of work that will go into trying to make the existing cells with the new cell. And if it wasn't for Owen and John Rogers and Billy, we would be lost, because there's a lot of legwork, a lot of emails, a lot of correspondence, a lot of reports to turn in. You have to watch absolutely everything, and I appreciate them. And that's what I would suggest we do. Recommend that we move forward in that manner move it to the Finance Committee in December and let Quorum Court have it in December, and then it'll be on the books for 25 calendar year, and then we review it again at the end of the year.
Hey, Judge, quick question.
Yes, sir.
I think that sounds great. All of it sounds great. One question that I do have is, how do you see determining whether the out of county is coming to our county? Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah,
because I think you and I have talked before that people with a hot spring or a driver's license with a Hot Springs address is bringing stuff from other counties. So how are we going to be able to?
So if it's if it's a dump truck full, if it's a dump trailer full, then we're going to ask for a contract wherever they're tearing that down. If it's only going to be a house that's being raised to bring that kind of volume, and so they'll have a contract with somebody, and we'll ask for an address where they're doing it, and we'll ask for a contract, and then stormwater will more than likely be involved in it already, so our other department will be able to follow up and see if it's actually coming from that address. We've had 2 in the past 2 weeks that basically told us a lie, and we went and checked, and there was no work going on there. So we've kind of got to fix and balance between our 2 departments. And if there's a house being tore down, then stormwater should have some permit open on it already, so that we'll follow up in that manner, and then we'll also ask for a contract at the gate when it scales.
Judge, could we possibly put a penalty in there for the fraud, something regarding it?
I think what we're going to do is just ask them not to come back. I don't think that we're required to take out of county debris. So if they come in there and they tell us a story, and of course they're going to be paying full rate, but if they tell us they're doing a project here and it's coming from another county, then we'll ask them not to come back. But
and when it's taking finance, you have the $49 for out of market.
Yes.
In that.
Yeah, we'll write it in ordinance. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I think we can write that all in ordinance, and then when we get done talking about class 4, we'll talk about class 1 for just a minute. But this is all about Billy's operation and the stuff that we deal with here. I'm just telling you, it's coming in faster than you can spread it out. But we're blessed. We've had great contractors, and we've had good engineers on it that have designed and provided us with good estimates of what things will cost. The bids we've been receiving on stuff lately is just crazy. We had bids on that job, I think, from 2.6 million all the way down to 900,000. And that's crazy to have that much variance in bids for something like that. But Garrett Construction did it in about 30 days, I guess. I can't remember what. And it was an impressive, they've got some drone video of it. They had 2 D11s with 64-yard pans that they pulled behind them, and a D8 pushed them over the hard spots with. And I mean, they stockpiled our clay, the clay that we found in there. We pulled it out and stockpiled it for cover later. And I mean, it was an impressive operation. They operate fully by satellite, and it was very impressive to watch them work.
So going to $49 would probably either make less be coming into our landfill or more money coming into our landfill. So
yes, and when you have to change phases and cells so quickly, the expense is greater because you don't have time to work it. So Billy and his crew do a lot of the work out there when we're trying to get things ready, and at this rate, they don't have time to do it. They have to stay on the landfill all the time. I think that, I don't know, you get me some crazy number like 100 bins behind right now on roll-off bins for construction debris.
Wow.
Goodness.
And so that it eats your airspace up pretty quickly. And we're going to get another piece of equipment to go on our machines out there. But we have a compactor out there that I guess we initially purchased it first in 2017, and we've traded it off and got a newer model now. But it measures your airspace, your density, everything as you're going across it. It measures your density and sends all that information back to Billy's office, so he can see if there's a soft spot in it that we need to go address a little more and try to compact that area a little more. But it's an impressive piece of machinery, and we'll in the next year we'll try to get a satellite system to go on our dozer so we can make sure we keep a good elevation.
Question for Billy. Billy, on your minimum loads, the minimum end, is that just household people bringing refrigerator or whatever? Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, minimum's 800 pounds. So we're going to go from what to 15? Going from 10 to 15 on the minimum. So wonder if we could bypass that and go up a couple more dollars on the other one. Let the mom and pop folks.
I think most of our use there is the lower the $10.
Most of the overall
Yeah.
use coming in more than the commercial. Really? Okay. Yeah. If they're filling it up, then.
But I don't want to. If we can go to 15 on it, we're going to leave it alone because it's such a small amount. It's when they go across the scales, if it's 800 or less, then that's all they pay is $15. I think that's a fair rate since we were at 10 in 2002, and we don't want to get it to the point where those kind of loads will wind up in a ditch somewhere or wind up at the end of a dead end road. But I think it's fair, and we provide some other services there at the landfill too, with some bulky waste pickup and things like that. But I think the next year all we do is review the see if we need to make that next step, go up another $5, or how we need to move with our rate for local contractors. You never know what the economy will be in a year's time, so we need to take back too. We'll probably reach out next summer and try to up the numbers with Caricon and Craft Toll and get another review. I think it's good business to do that, to make sure that you're charging a fair rate for the county. When that landfill is closed, I don't think any of us are going to be here. I don't know where you might be, but the rest of us probably won't be here. But I think we have to make sure that we provide for those generations in the future to be able to close that landfill out.
A question, Judge, if you would indulge me. At that rate of $5 a year, it'll take us 4 years to get up to that rate of $49. But in the meantime, there is some movement as far as growth, and I don't see anything but that increasing over the next 4 years. So any increase in growth is going to produce more trash, more garbage that has to be handled, and that's going to erode that $5 increase by some amount. So are we going to then, how do we address that, I guess, is because I see we make gains on one side, but then I see growth withdrawing from that. And so it's going to take us, in essence, more than 4 years to get to a point where we level out, because we don't know how to anticipate growth, that kind of thing.
So there's a couple things in consideration. One is the fact that we've been for the past 22 years, we've been at $24. And so I think it's going to be a drastic change overnight. So I think when we add that $5, that's why I suggested that we come back next year and review. If we get a CPI that's 10%, we know we need to look a little harder. If we get a CPI that's the normal 2.5, 2.8, somewhere there, we know we're probably on target to do 5 again and try to get up to that rate. I understand what you're saying, that the CPI could start pulling away from that. But I think that, if it takes us 4 years, if it takes 6 years, whatever it takes to achieve that goal, we know that we're going to have to absorb that in the meantime.
Right.
But we don't want to absorb a lot of it. And that's why each year we'll do this study. And if next year we see that we can't absorb it any longer, that it's starting to erode our, if we're starting to get into the negativity and we're not able to maintain our equipment like it should be and keep our employees happy and keep our landfill open, then we'll set at that point, you guys come back with some good numbers for us to use. And this is all factual stuff based on real numbers, based on the.
Well, I like the idea.
These guys
of a
started the
review.
landfill.
If you're using the spreadsheet tool, there's a response from a whole lot of factors that go into that rate, the $49 rate right now. If, for example, the densities get higher, then that rate will come down. And if we cause there to be fewer years, that'll have an impact on it. So I'm thinking that, and this is my opinion, Judge didn't ask me to tell you this, but as we tweak it, as the county provides more pertinent information, it may go down a little bit. It
There is
may not 40 or what, we don't know at this point, but in that case, incremental increases are a good measure, because by then, you've worked out this model over time and you're kind of set on how it's going to respond, and then you'll know where to end your increases.
Well, I think it's a smart approach. It's just that I always look down the road. It's just those unintended consequences, things that you don't think about at the time, that always seem to catch you sooner or later. And it's more often sooner than it is later. So
That's why we didn't just shoot from the hip on this. This has been 6 months preparation here that they've been gathering numbers, and it's easy looking at that. And we tried earlier in the year to implement a new cover system, which was a product called Posi Shell, and it's a lot thinner. You don't have to put as much cover on. Like right now, Billy had to put dirt over the track. This was a Posi Shell that you just basically put in a tank and put it over the top of it. And it makes like a clay formation over the top of it. It's safe over a long period of time. It saves you a lot of airspace because of the thickness of it versus the thickness of the cover that you have to put over it. And DEQ denied that. They said it had to be clay based something or another. But anyway, in our permitted, that's what we had permitted for, and they denied our Posi Shell, which would have possibly made the rate go down if we had started saving airspace and add more density. But they denied it, so it's out of the picture now.
Judge, are you wanting to advance these class rates individually or as a package at the
I would
as you
like
present them?
I would like to send it as a package if the committee so
Okay.
of the mind. I'd like to talk a minute about class 1, 2, a project that we started. Mr. Chairman, there's two of you. Mr.
We'll leave it in Jimmy's hands. He started
Okay,
it. I missed
we
quite a
need to
bit.
vote on this to move.
Yeah, let's talk about class 1 because we can put
Okay,
this all
yeah.
in the same ordinance.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago in 2022, for the year 2023, we increased the house-to-house rate by $1.50. The reason being is the fact that our contract with Republic expires in September of 26. Now, I know that sounds like it's a long ways away, but we will have to start working on getting bids in the first month of 26 because it will take a while to get equipment in. Our contract for our house-to-house collector ends December 31st of 26. So we're having 2 contracts that have been on a 7-year basis that are going to renew. Now, Republic has already met with us and told us they were going to go from, right now we pay $19 per ton. They're going to go to $30 per ton and a 5% increase each year. Now, they may back off of that, but that's what the Republic guy himself told us. So that's about a 35% increase in what they're charging right now. So rather than getting to the end here and thinking, oh, Lord, we've got to increase our rate by $7, we've done $1.50 and $1, and I would like to do one more dollar this year, which will get us to the $22, $23 range for the can. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it would allow us to be in a position to absorb some of the costs of a new contract without having to go up immediately. If they come in where we should be charging $28 per can, then we're halfway there, and so we can incrementally increase it without being a big debt for us. And it would be $3.50 overall that we increased from the $19 that we were charging initially for the cans. And we can review all of this into next year, but the first month of 26, we will have to let some people start knowing that we're going to go out for bid, and we'll have to. Last time we did it in June, and the contractor got his last truck here the third week of December, and he was actually operating with some of his old equipment. We require new equipment each time we start over for a 7-year period, so that they go into the hauling with nice equipment and not leaking fluids, and giving bad service, and breaking down, and things of that nature. So it's worked out really good this time. We're finally starting to see some wear on the equipment they're using, but I'm going to add one other thing in the contract for the coming hauler, and that's to get a small truck, like a 1 ton or a ton and a half with a small packer on it. So we have several residents that have a handicap help. We go to their house rather than the truck picking it up in front of their house. They sign a form, and then we go to their house and actually pick the trash up, or that carrier does. And so if he has a 1 ton, he can go up in their driveway and get it without taking a big truck up in there. And also during periods of ice and snow, it would be much easier to run that smaller truck on some of these back roads that are very small and very dangerous to get around. We'll request that it be a 4-wheel drive small truck. They can gather the trash. And then, we've got transfer stations. That's where they take the trash to, is the transfer station. So wherever they're working, they take it there and dump it out, and then we gather it, put it in a truck, and haul it over to Republic and Bauxite. But I would like to do that one more time, and then next year we'll be ready to bid out. And of course, the bid for the landfill that we use comes through the Solid Waste Management District, which is Western Arkansas Planning and Development District. We bid as a whole. It's Clark County, Arkadelphia, Hot Springs, City of Hot Springs, Garland County, and Garden bid together as a unit. And so we provide a little bigger leverage point, if you will. We have a little bit more buying power when we go to bid. We know that Republic's going to bid again, and we know that Waste Management's going to bid again, but something that we'll ask them to take into consideration this time is the distance you have to drive to get to Waste Management. There's one in Pine Bluff, and there's one in North Little Rock. And the one we're using now is in Bauxite. So you'll probably lose 10 loads a week, and you'll have a lot more fuel consumption, and you will have a lot more time on the road if you have to go to one of those others. So we're going to have to do some really strong figuring with the solid waste district to see which one works out better. Even if it's a few dollars more to dump at Republic, it might be cheaper in the long run because of the risk and the mileage you're going to have to travel to get there. And that cleaned it up. But I'll just tell you that Two Pines at North Little Rock is one of the hardest landfills to get in and out of I've ever been in and out of. They have so much traffic in there that they never get a chance to dress it up, and they push you in with a dozer and they pull you out with a dozer. And I can tell you, Garland County has spent more on differentials in that landfill than anywhere else, because it's a constant muddy mess over there. We've had some issues with Republic, but overall they've done a good job of correcting them, getting us a good road in there. And when it's snowing and freezing and thawing, it's tough to get in and out of those places, except for Billy Sawyer's landfill. It's not. He can get you in and out. But I would appreciate if the committee would move that forward to finance. We'll have an ordinance ready for finance. We'll then move it to the full quorum forward during December.
Judge, as we consider it, I think it's important to say, unlike the Class 1, Class 4 is really a fee for use. So if they only come one time a year, they're only going to see that increase once a year. So it's not a tax. You're increasing the fee for service. You're not increasing a tax for everyone. Unlike the Class 1, where we're going to be raising it for $1 by statute or state law, where everybody is required to have a can. So everybody that has a can will get hit with the $1. But I thought it was important to differentiate. This is not a tax. It's a fee for use on the Class 4. More times they use it, more times they'll see it. the fewer times they use it, just the opposite. Right.
Yeah.
So
It's and it's a godsend to have it here. The contractors here are very happy to have it here. The shape that really keeps it in out there. They can get in and out without getting stuck and tearing their trucks up. But yeah, it's two separate animals for sure.
I make a motion, we move it forward.
Second. We need to vote now, call for vote, or just,
Yeah, who seconded?
I'll second.
You can.
Chair became.
Okay.
Second.
Now, yeah, just voice vote if you will, Jimmy.
Yeah. Sure.
Feel this is redundant, me introducing myself, but I'll do it for the purposes of the record. I'm Dayton Myers. Y'all all know. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with anything proposed as far as the class 4 landfill. One thing that I didn't know what the meeting was about. The agenda was kind of vague on what we were going to be voting, what this committee was going to be voting on. I used to be a member of this committee, and the class 4. I think the 3 recommendations to go from 10 to 15 on the minimum to raise the tonnage 24, 29, and is there one more
Out
for
of
that?
market,
It's just
or
those
out of
two.
market 49.
Yeah, out of market to 49. I think those are all great. One thing that troubles me a little bit about raising the class 1 solid waste is, like Justice Brown pointed out, it's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect our poor people, affect our people with plenty of money, rich people. It's going to affect everybody across the board. I understand that they're 2 different animals, so to speak, but have we explored any option on maybe even going further and raising the out of county on that $49 even higher to potentially offset in the general solid waste budget, that $1 increase? I understand we're talking about 2 different things, but is there, I mean, I don't think the out of county should be paying what we should be charging right now. I think they should be paying a premium to get our service, especially if they're coming from a different landfill. So without those numbers before this committee tonight on exactly how much money this increase on all the levels is going to generate, I'm not saying don't pass the commercial forward, the class 4 stuff, but the class 1, if I was on the committee, I'd be voting against it. That's just personally how I feel. Thank you all.
Judge, am I wrong that the 49 was a maximum by like state statute, or,
Yeah, the 49 is what they said we should be at.
oh, it
today.
wasn't just a suggestion. I thought I heard it said
No,
that that was
I
the
suggested that we,
maximum the rate could be set at.
yeah, they said that we should be at 49 right now, rather than
Okay.
raising it all at once. And we'll send letters.
It
Everybody.
could be.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be, but you run yourself out of business. We won't have, you want to try to keep that growth at a steady rate, because we're investing millions in a new cell, and we want to be able to work at a steady rate, but it's too fast right now.
You pointed out that right now the sales tax paid by whether it's tourists or residents of Garland County
There is a-
subsidizes
There is a
the
percentage
landfill
that
right
goes
now.
there.
So, the out of county residents, I mean, yeah, some of them may hypothetically be paying sales tax in Garland County, but depending on where they're coming from, they may not be. So, the $49, I just think there's a way to push that higher, even if it affected, tonnage that was being brought in from out of county. I still think that there's a way to charge those out of county residents, not just what they're supposed to be getting charged, but a premium. That's seems like some of the other counties may be doing that based on that sheet you provided us. Anyways, thank y'all for letting me speak.
Before you leave, Dayton, if you don't mind, I'd like to discuss that a little bit.
Sure.
I think you raised an interesting point. But the fact is that then you are basically saying commercial is subsidizing class 1 in a way, right?
In a way, yeah.
Okay, so has that always been the fact? Has commercial ever, or does it subsidize class 1 even as we do today?
So the class 1 is a subcontractor. We don't do that ourselves. The
Right.
class 1 is a contractor that we have a bid on, so we
And from what I
pay X
understand,
dollars to
it
that.
pays for itself based on what our charges are. We pass that on to the end user.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's for house to house residential, is what that carrier picks up. What you what we could do is, um, I'm just concerned that we're going to get to new contracts and we're going to see a drastic increase from our house to house pickup people. But what you could do, we could review this again next year and see how many out of county sales we'd had at the scale. You could look and see how much we actually had come across there from out of county and know what we were going to make, where you could, if you were going to lose that that revenue stream. My only deal with trying to raise it for $1 is to prepare for what we know is coming. And that's just to try to offset a huge. And then, if you go up a little bit now, we see that we get a rate that's about 30% higher, and we can go back and have another study done and see how we need to adjust the house to house and do it incrementally a little bit at a time rather than that. And we'll absorb whatever that is. I understand your point completely, Dayton.
Can we tonight separate those two and vote on the
You sure can.
class
There's just not
four,
gonna be-
and then carry the class one forward to another meeting?
Yeah, so if we're going to do that, they'll have to know by the beginning of the year for the tax office. If you don't want to do the class one tonight, we'll just carry the class four forward and we'll hold the class one.
I would prefer doing that when we had our last meeting in the class one. My problem was, I think the term people use, if you're in the grocery store, you see somebody you want to pay for that's behind you, you pay it forward. I don't believe in charging the user of that service forward on a contract that has not come to fruition yet, whether it be higher or lower. We know it's probably going to be higher, but I just don't like the taxpayer having to put up for a year and a half or 2 years.
I understand. We'll look at it when we get to the meeting point.
And understand the pain of how much of an increase it might turn out to be, but I still don't believe taxpayers.
We have
should be
been
asked to
paying
pay forward.
the contractor has been receiving a CPI each year, but I know the equipment is going to be significantly higher for them to purchase this time. But we
Just
have
as-
a lot of interest from other providers as well.
Little side question within the same subject. You said new trucks would be bought for class four or for class
The
one.
contractor.
Are we getting trucks? Over the last 3 years since COVID, there's been a big
Yes, we have. We
delay.
finally got the day cabs that we had ordered in 2022. We received them this summer. We finally got all of them. We didn't get the ones we had ordered. We had to take some others, but they met our spec. And so we got all of those. Next year, it looks like supply will be good. We're trying to work our equipment to the point that we don't have something running out of warranty for a long period of time. When we get to 5,000 hours, which is about 2 years at the landfill, when we get to 5,000 hours on them, then we try to trade them in at significant savings, trading them in with that low miles, but they never run out of warranty and we don't have to put undercarriages on them. So we're actually saving quite a bit of money to do that. Right now you have a motion and a second on the floor. So
And
Real
that
quick,
would
I
be
have another-
revised to separate. We're voting on class four.
I wanted to ask a question just
Go
prior to
ahead.
that. Susan may be the one to answer. Susan, can class four subsidize class one if we were to do something different? I didn't know by legislative action or by accounts, could that be used to offset? And the reason I was bringing this up is, let's say instead of 5 on the tonnage, that we go to 8, and that would be a 3-year catch up. So $8 and I believe 66 cents will get us to the difference of $26 between where we are now and where the 49.30 some odd cents. So if it could offset it, if we instead of did 5 on the tonnage, did 8, the minimum at 5 and the tonnage rate at 8, could that subsidize? And then you could run some numbers to see if that $3 increase in the tonnage could help offset what the $1 would bring in per can. And we maybe tonight, to keep this going, we could advance this to finance. Finance can then vote on the monetary amount so that we don't stall and we have a chance to at least get it across the line in time. But maybe, so I'll stop talking and asking when you can answer.
Yeah, we agree that, yeah, solid waste is when audit solid waste, the house to house is a sub fund of solid waste. So solid waste is one fund. So yes.
Okay, so an additional $3 per ton could potentially help offset the $1 if the numbers, your study comes out, if by finance.
That would probably require a transfer if they had to subsidize the house-to-house collections to pay to the contractor. It all comes out of the same. Okay. We can do that, or we can stick with the 5 and look at it again next year and see. We'll be closer to knowing what we're going to get charged.
What your suggestion is to go from 5 to 8
On the tonnage, leave the minimum at a $5 increase. The tonnage to $8 a ton increase instead of a $5 a ton increase, and run your numbers to see if that additional $3 per ton could help subsidize the
House
need
to
for the
house.
$1 to the house to house. We could advance this forward, what was presented
Yes.
tonight, and then we can revise it, amend it, and approve the final numbers in finance.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, so the ordinance will be, we will, if I understand this right, we will move to $32 on the ton at the landfill gate and $15 on the minimum to the 800 pounds.
And the 49,
And
34
49
are
for out of county.
Correct.
or just take it on to
That's one.
move it on to 50 instead of 49.34
For the same reason.
for the same reason.
To
Absolutely.
generate
See
revenue.
if
offset
that
house to house increases.
those
I-
pennies add up. See if they do.
I like that.
Yes.
32. 15 for the, 32 for the tonnage and 50 for out of county. And then we'll track the out of counties and see what kind of tonnage they're bringing in. No class 1.
And if you could see if that additional $3 will really make an impact on the need for that $1 increase for the.
Yeah, we got 22,000 in. So we will, this time next year, we will trying to get our bid together for the house escalation. Timmy for Town and Country's done a good job. We do have a couple others that have expressed interest in it. So we hope to have some more than one bidder on it so that we can hopefully control the pricing a little bit on it.
Real quick, do you know how many tons class 4 when we pay by the, or it's probably in this big spreadsheet, but I can't find it. Do you know how many tons of class 4? We're talking about $32, an $8 increase. So what was our tonnage that we would be up multi? Just by the year. Just an estimate.
Somebody said 465.
Is it the 49,502.9 tons?
What it looks like.
Total budget, site waste volume.
Okay, so that amount times 3. That amount times 3. Okay.
Which one's times 3?
Thank you. do I need to do anything official to amend the motion? I think we talked through the numbers.
Move to amend, and Susan would put those.
We
Back
talked through
down.
the numbers, so do I need to say I make a motion that we amend my motion?
Make a motion.
Okay. Make a motion that I amend my motion that we go to $5 increase on the minimum, $8 increase on the tonnage, and go to $50 for the out of county. Is there a second on my amended?
Second.
Thank you. We ready to vote? Put all the ayes, yays. Vote for yay. Let's vote.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, any nays? Thank you. Passes.
This really all we had.
Okay, we're done here.
We'll move it to finance in December, and then we'll vote on it in December's Quorum Court before the whole court.
Sounds good.
You gonna adjourn it?